Hello, it's Friday, the 16th of February, 2024, and it's time for another episode of TQ Plus Ckery Friday, the place for your gender news and meme roundup. Last week I ended off my video with a sarcastic remark about a gender euphoria boner. And wouldn't you just know it, one of the first things to show up on my feed this week was the following post from Reddit. Under the category Ask Transgender, entitled, you guessed it, Gender Euphoria Boner, Shopping for Nightwear, Male to Female. Okay, so the title explains this post. I ventured into a big clothes shop and headed straight for the women's section to buy my first ever set of feminine nightwear. I was feeling totally unsexy because I was boy moding, much to my chagrin. Once I set my eyes on nighties, cute little dressing gown, and two-piece sets, I got a euphoria boner. It was unexpected, to say the least, because I've been cross-dressing since last year. It's not new to me. I have accepted I'm trans. Do you think this kind of thing means I'm right? To which a user called Your Trans Dad replied, hell yes. Welcome. Most male to female trans babies get happy arousal from the girly things they like, smiley face. Totally normal. And now let's move on to items in the news. Geelong Grammar School protects trans-identified student at the expense of female students. Article by Ckery Smith. Geelong Grammar School in Victoria has demonstrated complete disregard for reality in biological science, along with the sex-based rights of female students. A furious father has exposed the gross breach of trust after pulling his daughter out of the $84,000 a year school. It has been revealed that a 9-year-old male is identifying as a girl and will be given preferential treatment and protection by the school. It is his desire to be accommodated in the girls' dorm, and his wish has been granted. It is understood that the parents have not been informed or given consent for the decision to force female students to accept the male as a girl. Geelong Grammar School's principal, Rebecca Cody, said they believe that a coeducational, inclusive boarding community will enable our students to leave us as confident and resilient young adults. Whilst we cannot comment on specific students or circumstances, we can say that we are very open about being an inclusive community and supporting all of our students, including those identifying as LGBTQI+. So they are heard, respected, and kept safe in our care, Ms. Cody said in a statement. Our inclusivity policy makes it clear we will respect a student's gender identity, and that gender identity will be considered when assigning a student to a boarding environment. Our long-standing policy on inclusion reflects child safety standards, which require that all Victorian schools uphold equity, respect diversity needs among students, and pay particular attention to the needs of LGBTIQ+ students. It seems no consideration is given to how the female students feel regarding a male being housed in their quarters or appropriating stereotypes to have access to the girls' spaces or services. No one has ever changed their sex. No male has or ever can become female. It is insulting and dangerous to concede female sex-based rights for the sake of a boy's feelings. He deserves compassion and care for his dysphoria, but indulging his fantasy is not the answer. The charity Parkrun is a free weekly 2K and 5K community event in open spaces around the world. Up until recently, records for the fastest runners in the men's and women's category were visible on the charity's website, until it was revealed that 3 Parkrun female records were held by trans women. At that point, Parkrun decided to no longer make that information visible to the public. Jonathan Liu, a writer for The Guardian, claims that any noise about the Parkrun incident is right-wing propaganda motivated by hatred for trans people. Speaking of running, male athlete Sadie Schreiner, formerly Camden Schreiner, is currently ranked as the third fastest D3 collegiate runner in the women's category. His time of 25.27 seconds would position him as the 1,619th fastest runner in the men's category. Tennis great Martina Navratilova came to the defense, once again, of female-only women's sports as she criticized the participation of a male high school student named Maël Jacques competing in the girls category. Let's roll the video. Let's watch as he wins the women's high jump. Just as a side note, Maël's winning high jump was almost 10 inches lower than the boys' winning jump. Amnesty International, the once great voice for human rights, has traded its letter-writing campaign to political prisoners rotting in foreign cells for queer nonsense, highlighted by their online LGBTQIA allyship quiz. Here's a question about accidentally misgendering a colleague. Cambridge University Hospital's NHS Trust was deemed not worthy of the Stonewall LGBTQ plus Diversity Champion Award because, quote, the trust was found to not have enough LGBT plus inclusive posters visible to patients. Only 5% of patient respondents were asked their pronouns when receiving care, and less than 50% of patient respondents were asked to confirm their gender. In particular, maternity care hospital The Rosie, which has an excellent reputation, was cited as undeserving of the Stonewall endorsement because it used the word mother in its maternity leave policies. And finally, at least in the regular news category, female prisoners' views on transgender inmates in Scotland will remain secret after the prison service blocked request for the survey to be made public. I wonder why. I guess Parkrun isn't the only organization which likes to keep its data secret. And now a segment in which I will share news stories which are completely over the top. First on the agenda is the story of a Detroit trans woman suing his ex-male partner to return his testicles to him, which the ex-partner was keeping in a mason jar in his fridge. Let's read a little bit of this. Kingsley filed a handwritten small claims petition in August claiming Wojciechowski retains possession of my surgically extracted testicles preserved in a mason jar kept in the fridge next to the eggs. Demand immediate return of my human remains specimen and damages of $6,500. Wojciechowski filed a counterclaim seeking $6,500 in damages because he said he had been humiliated by coverage of the case by worldwide news outlets. The judge, Bowie, denied both claims, a decision he said Wednesday can't be appealed. The judge said Kingsley had the opportunity to get her testicles back when an Oakland County Sheriff's deputy accompanied him, to Wojciechowski's Pontiac home in January 2023. And across the state of Florida, at DMVs, that's the Department of Motor Vehicles, trans activists staged public die-ins to protest a decision by the Florida Republican administration, where driver's licenses will be required to contain factual information about the biological sex of the license holder. This action was done to, quote, underscore the devastating consequences of efforts to erase the transgender community's legal recognition, unquote. PRISM, one of the organizations participating in the die-in, stated, "The Florida DMV is killing people, so we're showing them the consequences." And from the Connecticut Voice, an article entitled "Living in the Gray Space Between the Rainbow Stripes." This article outlines the difficulties of living in the United States as a non-binary person. I'd like to read a case sample. Other non-binary folks, like Ember of New Haven, expressed frustration at how legal systems still get in the way of their being able to live like everyone else. They are in a relationship with a cis lesbian in New York, and they're considering having a baby together with a sperm donor. But because Connecticut and their home state aren't as progressive as they need it to be, they face big decisions. If I have, quote, this is a quote from Ember of New Haven, quote, "If I have a baby in Connecticut, then they'll put me as the mother on the birth certificate and not their partner," Ember says. "But if we drive across the border to New York," and I just want to interject something here for the non-US viewers. In the United States, when we go from one state to the next, we don't use the expression drive across the border. We only talk about crossing the border into another country, not another state. The use of crossing the border in order to evoke images of fleeing war, poverty, oppression is so effing absurd. But I digress. Back to Ember and her quote. Quote, "But if we drive across the border to New York where she lives, it will be parent 1 and parent 2. But because I'm from Oklahoma, I can't change my birth certificate to X. I can only change it to M or leave it as F. So even if my driver's license is X, my passport can't be X, my birth certificate can't be X, and when I want to have my baby, when I want to get married, all of these things, there's not space for us yet." And to quote Vinnie Barbarino, sorry about that. Back to Vinnie Barbarino.
"I'm so confused."
And finally, in over-the-top gender madness, this. Is your cat non-binary? The madness of inclusivity drive at patent modeling agency. Company that supplies animals for television work asks question that leaves owners scratching their heads. And now for this week's memes. The world's first transgender whale, maybe Dick. Super Bowl quarterback celebrates Super Bowl win with his famous girl. Facebook user Brandy Rose DeVore wants us to know some women have penises. Get over it. Get over it. And finally, it's tough, sir. Millions of them. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.